Now, as the government seeks to boost spending and revive the country's economy, the Lee administration is now looking to get that extra budget bill. And President Lee Jae Myung, as we just heard, has just delivered his speech on the second supplementary budget. So for more on this and the country's economic policy, we're joined by Professor Shin Se-don, professor at the Division of Business Economics at Sookmyung Women's University. Professor Shin, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So we just heard the president give his speech. What's your overall assessment of this second supplementary budget plan?
Well, Korean economy has been suffering from 2022, and every economic statistics show that it is almost like unheard of kind of economic depression, so to speak, and realizing the significance of economic slowdown or recession in some aspect. I think the president's address about supplementary budget is very right on time, and the size, which is about 30.5 trillion won, is among top four supplementary budget throughout Korean history. So the magnitude of supplementary budget is not small at all. And I think depending upon the outcome, whether economy really recovers, I think there should be another possibility of a second supplementary budget in the later this year. Generally speaking, I think it is right on time, and the magnitude is also proper. That is my assessment.
Right, like you mentioned, this is a large amount of budget, and a large amount of that bill includes a universal cash handout scheme for all citizens. Will this help revive the country's economy?
Well, universal kind of a cash handout amounts to about 5 trillion won, which is about 1/6 of the total supplementary budget. So you can criticize that 5 trillion won's worth of cash handout may not be enough, but general handout of about 15.2 trillion won, I think that is pretty much the amount that has been given in right after the coronavirus in 2020. So, well, it could be some significant help to general consumption. So, I think, judging from past history, general handout of about 14 or 15 trillion won, I think pretty significant amount, and we could expect what its effect upon positive effect on economic consumption. That I think has to be seen in the future.
Right, so we are seeing the government working to revive their economy. So what is the number one priority, do you think, the Lee administration should focus on in its economic policy?
He mentioned, President Lee has mentioned several times in his address that the recovery of citizens' livelihood, which has been having a significant kind of a trouble for the last 3 years since 2022, is the utmost important kind of economic agenda for current administration. And as I said, the 30 trillion won's supplementary budget may not be enough. So we have to determine whether another supplementary budget could be necessary depending upon the outcome. Judging from, slow economic performances from slowing export growth, I think this supplementary budget may not be enough to turn around Korean economy, because in the past, like 2020, the Moon Jae-in government spent about 67 trillion won for the supplementary budget, in which case there have been 4 supplementary budget in 2020, and in 2021 there was 2 supplementary budget altogether about 50 trillion. And 2022, there has been another 55 trillion won supplementary budget. So for the last 3 years, 2020, 2021, 2022, we had at least a couple of, budgetary supplementary budgets. So judging from that situation, I think you cannot rule out another second budgetary supplementary budget during 2025. That is my expectation.
I see. I guess we'll have to see if we'll see more extra budget plans coming in. And another key issue the current administration faces is tariffs with the United States. And the country's top trade negotiator is right now in Washington to hold the first tariff talks since President Lee took office. So what leverage does South Korea have in tariff negotiations with the Trump administration?
I think most important issue regarding U.S. and Korean trade issue is that Korea has been having too much trade surplus against the United States. In other words, we are exporting a lot more than we import from the United States. So major Korean kind of leverage in issue of trade between the United States and Korea is we have to import more from the United States. We have to import more natural gases. We have to import more of agricultural products, and we have to import more automobile from the United States. As long as we can reduce trade surplus against the United States, I think that there should be no trouble in the trades between Korea and the United States. So I feel that there are plenty of leverage for Korean government in solving the trade issues because we could import more from the United States.
I see. And South Korea, faces reciprocal tariffs of 25%. So if this measure takes effect, how would that affect Korean businesses?
Oh, that's going to have a significant, negative effect upon Korean exports. Most major companies in Korea are exporting mostly to the United States, and the United States levy 25%, which is a hectic. It's a pretty devastating kind of a blow to Korean exports. So I think, as I said, the issue of reciprocal tariff is because Korean economy has been enjoying a lot of surplus against the United States. So as long as we reduce trade surplus against the United States, I think there's a plenty of room that we could lower the reciprocal tariff from 25% to either 10% or 5%, or I think 0%, it could be possible if we can significantly reduce trade surplus against the United States. I'm pretty hopeful that we could come up with, very kind of a positive deal between the United States and Korea. And because of that, I think the reciprocal tariff could reduce down not to 10%, but to 5% or even 0%.
All right, I guess we'll have to see how that negotiations play out. Professor Shin, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.